Welcome back to another episode of Decoded, a Lost Codex Podcast. My name is Jesse, and I'm the writer, director, and narrator for the Lost Codex episodes, guys, and it has been a little bit since we've done this, since we've done a Decoded podcast. I do apologize because in my absence, in my post-Blizzcon absence, I got sick hard. I don't know if it was the con cred, because it wasn't right after BlizzCon, but maybe it sat dormant. Maybe it was lurking for a while. 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks today, I had a little bit of an itch in my throat. I thought, okay, this is okay. It's not gonna be bad. And it was awful. It was actually horrible. And I don't get sick badly very often, but this was bad. Started off with a sore throat, and felt like I was swallowing just razor blades for days. Finally, it went away. Head felt it was like congested and weighed 1,000 pounds. Had a horrible cough to the point where my breath was being taken out of me. I tried to record some stuff, and I was like physically out of breath. And sore throat came back in that same sickness, and this is day 14, and I'm still not 100%. We're better. Getting better. I'd say we're about 85 to 90 mark. Still have a very booming cough. So I will lean away from the microphone when I have to cough. But yeah, I'm back. Sorry that there's been no Decoded episodes or Lost Codex episodes or anything. For those of you who watch our channel on Twitch, twitch.tv/LostCodexLore, this is being recorded live now. Obviously, those who are watching on Twitch now. But for those of you who don't watch this live, I'm going to be streaming, try to stream for every day of December. So far, we are December 5th, 2018. And I am 5 streams in, so I've kept my word so far, and we're gonna see how long that lasts, because we want to make some changes for the Lost Codex, and we want to get that Twitch partnership, so we got to put in the effort. But I am back. Sickness is on its way out. I'm still extremely burdened by BlizzCon blues. That is real. And for those listening who've never been to BlizzCon, you might be sitting there rolling your eyes like, what a baby. Like, come on, the convention's over, get over it. But those of you who've been to BlizzCon, you know what the BlizzCon blues are. They hit hard afterwards. And if you're one who gets swamped by seasonal depression in December, November, December after BlizzCon sucks. So to all those out there who are suffering the BlizzCon blues, I hear you. I understand. I feel your pain. Good news is we are 11 months away from BlizzCon 2019, but we're not talking about that today. I went one podcast without talking about BlizzCon. Not even, so no, my record's broke. We'll try next week without mentioning BlizzCon. But we are back, and there's no news to talk about. I'm going to just dive right into the podcast because we have 8.1 to talk about. We are going to be talking about all the stuff coming in. What day is it? Today is Wednesday, so a week today. Europe, you're getting 8.1 a week today. North America, we are getting 8.1 a week yesterday, and we're going to have so much to do, so much to talk about, so much fun stuff. And, in before the first comment, Warfronts are awful, and they're not fixing my class. Well, you know what, no matter what, I like going to the Blizzard forum posts, not the forum posts, the blog posts, and seeing, all this information come out, and then the top post, instantly negative. No matter what comes out, it's automatically, or on Twitter, here's the new blog post for the new transmog sets coming out, and the first comment is something horrible, and it's like, no one is ever happy. But today, we are going to be happy, we're going to be positive, and we're going to talk about 8.1, and if you're here to not enjoy 8.1, or you've unsubbed, because I know a lot of people have unsubbed, maybe this podcast will convince you, or maybe you'll just leave another comment, compare the Lost Codex to Taliesin and Evitil level of shill, which we got last week on the last podcast, and what a compliment that was. That made me laugh out loud. So thank you to that. A lot of people did not like the Lost podcast because I basically said don't treat the Diablo team like shit. You can be disappointed, just don't be assholes, and apparently that's not allowed. So today we're not going to be talking about Diablo, we're going to talk about 8.1, and if you've unsubbed for Battle for Azeroth for whatever number of reasons, because there are some issues out there, I talked about a little bit about that on Brutal Statics Podcast the other day, which, by the way, is out, I believe. So you guys should definitely go check out Brutal Statics Podcast. Links down in the description below if you're watching this on YouTube. That was a really fun hour and a half. And at the very end, I got to talk a little bit about all the negativity in game and in the community right now. And it was podcast number 3 for him. So go check him out. Go listen. But listen to this one first, because you're already here. So why leave? Or break it up. So we're going to talk about 8.1 right away. But before we do that, I haven't actually had a chance to talk about the Terror of Darkshore cinematic. Now, I did record my reaction at BlizzCon. I had to discreetly, without being obnoxious, record my reaction at BlizzCon, watching it on a computer from my phone camera. It's awful. You don't really see much reaction because of the angle. I tried. So we're just going to watch it today. I'm not going to give any big shocking reaction because I know what happens, and we're just going to talk a little bit about it. And for those of you who are listening to the audio version, you are going to hear the entire Terror of Darkshore cinematic. So I would skip forward. If you don't want to hear it, skip forward maybe about 4 minutes or so. We're going to talk about it, and then we're going to talk about all the Warfront stuff going on in the background of the patch. So if you guys have seen the Terror of Darkshore cinematic and you are here watching live and you don't want to see it again, A, what's wrong with you? But B, you can go get a water break. Go do whatever you got to do. And I'm gonna play the cinematic. And should I mute my audio? No, I'm not gonna mute my audio. I'll turn down my microphone a little bit so you guys can hear Nathanos. Spoilers. Talk about stuff.
All of it?
The entire shipment, down to the last sack of grain. This one's the only survivor.
One Sunday, do not take me yet.
What happened?
We were bringing supplies to the Warfront, just like all the other times.
Pick up the pace! We got to get these supplies to our soldiers by dawn!
On a troll. Blasphemy. It does look dope, so I'm right on that.
What is it?
Tell her. We are coming.
One Sunday, do not take me yet.
He expects us to believe this tale. No single night elf could do all that.
I know one who could.
Microphone was a little bit low, sorry. That owl glare, though. Music, music.
We will hold this ground for the Horde.
Oh my lord, the chills. Ha. Good gravy. Good golly, as Alex Afrasiabi would say. Good golly. I'm crying. Not actually. I'm scared because when I play my horde character, how cool would it be if there's just like if there was a 2% chance when you're going through Darkshore and you're questing that Malfurion just instant kills you, kind of like Deathwing from Cataclysm just shows up and kills you. Just a 2% chance that a bear jumps out and one-shots you. Oh my lord. Let's turn on my mic volume a little bit here. That was exciting. That was so good. So good. Terror of Darkshore, guys. People wanted a Night Elf response to Teldrassil. And here's the thing. A little bit of a side tangent. Very quick. People want the World of Warcraft story to be a Game of Thrones episode, right? A big, long, cinematic tale where you only have to wait a week for the next bit. And actually, people don't even want that. People don't even like that. Time-gated content is literally the devil's work to some people. God forbid they put everything on the first day and then you complete it within the first 2 hours and then go right to the forums that there's nothing to do. Time-gated content, especially when it's story-related, stuff like that, I don't mind that. It spaces it out a little bit. And it makes the story seem longer. It made it seem like the march through Darkshore, before the Horde burned Teldrassil, seemed like it was a little bit of a longer campaign. Now, story-wise, that didn't actually make sense, but it felt like it when you're doing game mechanics-wise, right? So, people wanted a Night Elf response. Teldrassil burns, the pre-books come out from the Collector's Edition, Christy Golden's Alliance version and Robert Brooks' Horde version. And, we saw the Night Elves being awesome in those tales, with the guerrilla-style warfare, the hit-and-run tactics, stealth stuff, but the Horde their massive war machine just overwhelmed the Horde completely. And we saw how scary Malfurion was in that Horde version. We saw there was that scene where Malfurion's standing on the banks of a river and he's just out of sight, and the Horde can see his antlers. And they're scared, that's the Malfurion people wanted. But again, in game, we didn't see that. We saw him, spamming the Wrath ability, and then he gets an axe in the back against Sylvanas, and Tyrande shows up to save him. And people wanted, why did Tyrande abandon her people? And of course, people asked that before the book came out, or the short story rather. She hearths back to Stormwind. And when she comes running into the Mage Tower to take that portal to Darnassus, because she knows the Horde's on their way, the portal closes, and she's, what's going on? The last thing she knew was the Horde was getting ready to invade the tree. She didn't abandon her people. She was making sure her husband, who, I don't know, Saurfang could have A, thrown a knife, B, thrown a throwing hatchet. No, let's throw my giant two-handed... How did that even work? A, how did Malfurion not get chopped into two pieces? And B... Damn, boy, you gotta be strong to throw a massive battle axe like that. Like, he just pulled a full-on Gimli. And my arm! I laughed out loud when I saw it in game, because it was so ridiculous. Saurfang running in and throw emote, and then this giant axe. It's like, oh, that was not expected. Anything, literally, like the bottom of the axe to the back of the head, anything. Instead of throwing the axe would have been a better choice. And I thought maybe that was just a gameplay design. No, in the books it was he threw the axe, which is just as funny. I think he threw the axe. Anyway, people wanted that Night Elf response. Why did Tyrande abandon her people? Why was there no retaliation? Where were the guards? If you read the books, the guards, the armies of the Night Elves, there are two answers. Half of them were directed to Silithus. That was the whole point of marching to the Barrens, and at the last second going northwest. Directions are hard. Northwest instead of down to Silithus, where the Alliance thought the Night Elves were going. So half the army was redirected to intercept the Horde army that was on its way to Silithus. The other half was butchered in the Ashenvale assault. Rogues all around the forest positioned themselves at every single outpost, and all at once started slashing throats of all the sentinels and all the guards. It was supposed to be an instant slaughter. Every post was supposed to fall at the same time. Most of them did. A couple of them survived, which is why the Night Elves were able to put up a fight. But a lot of guards, the war machines came rampaging through. Druids were everywhere, but eventually the Druid numbers were dropping. The Sentinel numbers were dropping. Then you get to Darkshore. There's more death there. Malfurion holding off as long as he can. And then the attack on Lord Donnell, Saurfang, killing the Night Elf warriors and the Sentinels, because it made sense. They were soldiers, and Hellscream actually mentions back in Warcraft 3, like he compliments the Night Elves, going, "Damn, these ladies are some fine warriors." He was a-okay with acknowledging how vicious the Night Elves were, but then Saurfang says, "Don't kill the civilians." But where was the Night Elf? Where were the guards? Well, there were no guards in Teldrassil. That's what makes Teldrassil so much more worse. I like to get into conversations about, what are your thoughts on the burning of Teldrassil? And every now and then you'll have that traditional Horde player, right? Like, fuck yeah, man, like, screw the Alliance. I love, that was so cool burning the tree, screw the Night Elves. And I'm like, did you read the books? No. I'm like, you do realize that it was just, like, men, women, and children, no guards, right? Like, well, no, there's always casualties of war, but there were soldiers. No, there were like maybe 4 soldiers left. It was literally just a tree full of burning children and women and men, merchants, fishermen. Oh, I didn't know that. And so if you haven't read the books, obviously it's a little bit too late to say spoilers. Go read the damn novels, the I keep calling them books, novels, short stories, whatever they are. Go read them. They provide so much more context. But those who died were killed in the assault or redirected. And those who were redirected, why didn't they respawn right away? Well, the whole zone is gone. The tree's on fire, the Horde is everywhere. They can't launch an instant assault. And that's what happens in 8.1. People wanted that response to happen instantly, like in the launch patch. Let the story unfold. This is literally the next chapter. Chapter 1, 8.0. Chapter 2, 8.1. Does that make sense? And there's some people who were mad that the Night Elves didn't respond right away. And my rebuttal is, they are responding right away. World of Warcraft's not a form of media that has instant storytelling. So if you're upset with something, wait and see how it plays out. If it gets to the end of that storyline and you're still unsatisfied, fine, you're allowed to be upset. No one says you can't. But let the story play out as a game story should, right? When you read one of Christie Golden's books, you can go to the next chapter right away. World of Warcraft chapter is a little bit different. It makes you wait. Time gated, both in-game, but also for the development cycle to happen. Anyway, so 8.1 happens, and the Night Elves are attacking. There's going to be a little cutscene for the Alliance where we see Tyrande talking to Anduin and asking for help. And he basically, a little bit of spoilers, says, no, like, this is not the time. And I don't think that's the wrong thing to say, because there's the battle going on in Arathi, which is a huge warfront. Stromgarde has been retaken. We still don't know who won canonically. I'm still going to say it was the Alliance who won canonically. There's the storyline in Kultiris going on with all the threats there, and finally bringing Kultiris into the fold. And the Alliance is preparing to attack Zuldazar. They've done their war campaign. Reconnaissance has been done. They're literally getting ready to invade the oldest city in the world. Anduin can't distribute his forces anymore. And Tyrande has every right to be upset. She says, stuff, backs off. The Horde player's going to be there, but the Alliance player then goes to Darkshore in search of Tyrande to see what her plan is, what she's doing, and there's going to be a lot going on. Why does she have new armor there? Why does she have new armor in that cinematic? We'll find out. Why are her eyes black? We'll find out. The storyline, I know the storyline, but I'm breaking down what's coming. I don't want to spoil it for anyone who wants to know what's coming in 8.1, but doesn't want the spoilers, all the story stuff. So we'll talk about that in the future. But man, that cinematic. One thing I just want to point out is how dark that cinematic is. How, both, not like in terms of the coloration, well, the coloration, true, but like I could do a full-on analysis of this, and I don't want to, I almost decided to do an entire podcast just talking about that cinematic, but I'm a little late on the ball. You know, so many other content creators have already gotten there, and have said so much that I want to say, so we're going to give a very quick TLDR, and the things that I want to point out were just how dark the themes were. The PTSD of the troll at the beginning. He's holding the charm, the bracelet, the prayer beads to Bwonsamdi, and he's freaking out. He's safe. He's in the Horde camp, and he's still worried that Malfurion's gonna come barging through that tent, which, in all honesty, probably could happen. And he begging Bwonsamdi, don't take me yet. I'm not ready to go. I'm gonna die any second. This bear elf man is gonna rip me apart. Please, please don't take me. I'm not ready. And trolls are familiar with guerrilla style warfare. That they know hit and run tactics, and this guy is scared. Now, do we know his backstory? No. He does have a character name. I remember in the Terran and final boss talk, he does have a name. Can't remember it. So there. But we don't know. It sounds like he's not a veteran. You know, pick up the pace. We have to get these supplies to the Warfront. He's leading this patrol. He doesn't sound like he's a Khan. He's not a zappy boy. He's done his homework. He knows what war is about. Has he fought against the Night Elves? We don't know. But now he has. Now we know his storyline, and he is scared. So scared that he's begging his god of death not to take him. And he's in the middle of his own encampment. If he was in the middle of the forest, fine, he could die in any second. No, he's literally huddling in a tent, and the Thanos is saying, like, hey, what the hell's wrong with you? Flashback, we see them walking the patrol down the road. By the way, as I said, probably didn't hear me during the cinematic because it was really loud, but that Kodo that runs away is actually a mount. It's called Frightened Kodo, and the flavor text says something along the lines of, who knew a bear with antlers could frighten this Kodo so easily, or something like that. Which, when that came out, it was very like, what does that mean? When I saw the data mine text pre-BlizzCon, I was thinking, okay, it's clearly referring to Malfurion, but it's so specific, why? And then in the cinematic we see, oh, this makes sense. So you're going to be able to go save that Kodo. I think Alliance players just kill it, but then you get it as a mount, so maybe you subdue it. Horde players, anyway, it's a mount. Apparently Alliance can ride it. It might be available only to Horde, but Alliance can use it as well. Mr. GM put out a video on some of the mounts coming out, so don't quote me, I don't know the exact details, but I'm pretty sure Alliance can ride this, and it uses an unused coloration for the HD Kodo models that were done in Legion. Malfurion attacks. Takes out that Blood Elf instantly. Gold Eyes Blood Elf on screen. Ooh, like nice armor set, transmog on point, and just instant kill. Level 120, ganking a bunch of 110s. And scary too. And the owl lands, and the owls are Tyranda's eyes, literally just a scout. And you know, in terms of hunter gameplay, there's the hunter's mark on the crowd. And the troll has this moment of, oh shit. And then in comes Malfurion, stealthed in bear form, someone report that. And just absolutely taken out. Then the next orc taken out. Then the next orc. And interesting, if you look at the orcs in the background, they're actually wearing Kor'kron armor and Kor'kron tabards. That was an interesting choice. Part of me wants to know if that was intentional. Part of me wants to know if it was just meant to be some grunts. Because there were some grunts and there were some Kor'kron there. We don't know what happened to the Kor'kron. We see a whole bunch of Kor'kron in Dazar'alor. Or at least the Kor'kron uniform and the tabards. We don't know if it's likely not the same. I'm surprised the Kor'kron name just hasn't been buried. You know, the Kor'kron was once a good organization. Garrosh dug that into the ground. You know, it was supposed to be the elite soldiers of the war chief. Garrosh opened it up to everyone. Basically gave them the I get to be an asshole in public and get away with it free card, especially if you were an orc during Garrosh's reign. So I'm surprised that there was... I would have loved to see some sort of little mention in one of the books that the Corcoran name has been disbanded because trolls have PTSD thinking about the torture that some of those messed up Hellscream supporters did. And a lot of them were Dragon Maw, a lot of them were Black Rocks of Dalren's horde, so, you know, they were already messed up in the first place. So anyway, we got some Corcorans there, they die. And then the troll gets knocked back against the tree, which probably broke all of his ribs, if we're going to be completely honest. He's a troll, he regenerated, we're good. The Malfurion turns his head, transforms, and then the roots start... I remember that's probably the biggest reaction from me, from my reaction video at BlizzCon, is me watching that happen. And I remember saying out loud, oh, and there was a lady next to me, and she flinched and looked at me. I didn't even look at her, but I remember going, like, oh my god! The roots cover his mouth, dragging him to the ground, screaming, pulling him under. One of the most horrifying things you can imagine. Suffocation and being buried, crushed beneath... God, no, that was... At least the elf died probably instantly, if not her throat wasn't ripped off, or her head completely ripped off. The other orc, big claws to the chest, ripped open, crushed beneath the weight of Malfurion. That orc didn't die instantly, and that is completely horrifying. Then the troll tries to grab a weapon, dumb move. Malfurion throws him against the tree, and then the troll runs back to the camp. And of course, the female orc laughs it off. What could possibly have done that? Supposed to be undermining Malfurion. Then the owl lands, and Nathanos and the owl have another, a moment. The owl glares and takes off, and then Night Song starts playing. The awesome Ashen Veil music, the same song that plays during the Ysera cinematic, only this is not your grandmother's Night Song. This is like the America Fuck Yeah song, Night Song style. This is Kaldurai Fuck Yeah in the most heroic, iconic piece of Night Elf music that just gets your heart just pumping with excitement. And to see Tyrande there, finally at the very end, you thought you're not going to see her at all. But there she is, standing in her absolute glory. And notice Malfurion is standing behind Tyrande. He was there throughout the entire cinematic, killing everyone. But she was the star. It was her owl who put the target on. Again, the owl drops down, Hunter's Mark goes above this camp. And then there's Malfurion standing behind his wife, because she's in charge. She's leading this front, and she is pissed. Now, there's a lot of visual changes going on with her. We'll talk about that later, but holy crap. Having him stand there epically with her in her new mixture of Warden and Sentinel-like armor, intentional, with her new glaive, owl out on her arm, and then Nathanos with the cool line, "We will hold this ground for the Horde." You have no right to it, but and then the zoom out. You haven't seen it at all, but right there is the burnt husk of Teldrassil looming over the battle site, and then bam, title screen, end of cinematic, fist pump moment, chills, tears, holy crap. I want to watch it again, but we're not going to. Here's your moment, Night Elves. Here is your moment. And I think, is this going to be your only moment? No, there's more to come. Let's let it play out. It's not an instant turnaround. Let's dive right into the new Warfront. So the new Warfront is coming out on Tuesday. And there's this little storyline that the Alliance is going to complete. I don't know. I think the Horde storyline is pretty instant, but the Alliance has to follow a quest line to go look for Tyrande. You need some answers about her. And after you do that, you can queue for the Alliance. I think Alliance start off with this Warfront. The Horde has set up camp already, which makes sense, right? Why would the Horde be able to queue for a Warfront? That means the Alliance have taken it back. So, Horde players, you are not going to be able to do the Warfront on Monday. Or, again, Tuesday. But that makes sense, because you guys, the Horde, we won in Darkshore. So the Alliance needs to retaliate. Apparently, according to the blog, there's going to be a shortened cycle for both factions before the holidays. So, does that mean shortened cycle completely, like for this whole new Warfront? That's not what I understand from this. From the wording, I can't find the exact wording here, but it basically implies that both factions will be able to try the Warfront before the holidays. It's a little bit of a shortened phase, just so people can experience it before Christmas or maybe during Christmas. Oh, here it is. We've also shortened the cycle for the first 2 weeks of the Warfront, so players from both factions will have access to it and all its rewards prior to the holidays. So Alliance start with this assault. And now we have 2 Warfronts. We've got Arathi and we've got Darkshore going on at the same time. Each cycle is completely independent from one another, and you get to pick and choose which one you can contribute to. So there's no... I think it's going to make it a little bit easier. 1 week you're attacking on a Warfront, and the next week you're defending on, the next week is... It's going to alternate, so that it feels like there's more things to do each week as opposed to waiting the full 12 days or however long it takes. There's 2 phases for this, as there is with the Arathi phase. The first phase is the siege phase, so you enter the actual Warfront. New units, buildings, new objectives. And according to the blog post, there's the new Essence of Storms gives a buff that allows players to take on a tanking or healing role. It says something with transformation, so maybe transform into one of the ancients to mass heal your raid, to tank some of the enemy combatants without actually being a tank class, which is kind of interesting. Control some old school Warcraft 3 units, and we talked about it in previous podcasts. A lot of those old school Warcraft 3 units are being brought back for this Warfront, which is really, really exciting. While the Alliance is doing this, the Horde is on patrol phase, which basically means they have access to the new outdoor updated Darkshore. Brand new skybox, very eerie. You can see Teldrassil is now completely extinguished and gone. And there's lots of treasures out in the world, lots of mounts, toys, gear, pets to unlock, to run around and basically Arathi, but I think a little bit more interactive. There's a new currency, service metal currency, to purchase heirlooms, more pets, more mounts, transmog, a teleport ring, and experience potions. I'm assuming for level 110 for your alts. And then there's this quote right here. The item level of gear for both Warfronts will start off in line with those currently available in Arathi Highlands. However, the item level will increase once Season 2 of the Raid, PvP, and Mythic Dungeons begins with the arrival of the Battle of Dazar'alor. So, the gear you get from Warfronts next week will be on par with the Arathi stuff. But when the Battle for Dazar'alor comes out, we'll talk about that later, speculation on that, the item level will jump up. They don't want to give you early access to next content raid stuff, so it's going to jump up in scale later on. So, which is kind of cool, because, otherwise people would be flocking to do Warfronts in preparation for making sure they're absolutely max level gear, item level capped before the battle comes out. No, it's going to scale, so it's a more natural progression, which I think is cool. Got some visuals here up on screen. Nothing crazy. Nothing we got to. If you're listening to the audio only, there it is. If you listen to the audio only, they're only thumbnails taken from Blizzard. You can find these literally on their blog websites. I'll post everything below. You're not missing any special exclusive information. It's just some fancy stuff to have up on screen. So there's some ancients. There's Teldrassil in the background. There's a very, very angry looking moon there. Apologies. And here's a picture of the Battle for Stromgarde and Battle for Darkshore queue page. You can see that the contribution phase and the time remaining phase completely different, so again, they will not impact one another in that way. And here's a shot of some Forsaken having a party in the a desecrated moonwell. And you can't get more desecrating than literally just pouring plague barrels into the moonwell. How incredibly Forsaken. We're going to move on to the next big feature of 8.1, which is the faction assaults, which I'm looking so forward to because it's another way to level alts. I am so happy Blizzard did not remove the Legion leveling from Legion. With the new war mode buff and heirlooms and any additional buff, whether it was the anniversary buff or the Darkmoon Fair buff, you get a decent amount of XP. I leveled twice in a single invasion, running through High Mountain a couple weeks ago, and I'm glad that they're bringing them back. I hope this is a feature that moves forward into the game. I'd like to see it a little bit updated throughout the patches, maybe in terms of keep it relevant, keep it fresh, give us a reason to do some faction assaults in 8.2 and 8.3. Give us a reason to go back and do them, if not just for the XP for our alts. Pretty much they're the exact same thing as the Legion Zone invasions for Battle for Azeroth, only instead of the Legion invading in big flying scary ships, it is now the opposite faction. The Alliance is going to be invading the shores of Zandalar, and they can appear in Nazmir, Vol'dun, and Zuldazar. And the Horde will be attacking Stormsong, Terragard Sound, and Drustvar with their big scary warships. And there are some interesting quest lines in there that may point to future stuff coming in the future. There's a certain storyline about a certain gnome and goblin couple in Battle for Before the Storm. So keep your eyes out when you're doing that. There's a lot of little neat Easter eggs in there. According to Blizzard's forum posts, blog post, available to level 110 players who have world quests unlocked on their account and have begun the war campaign. It does not say finish the war campaign, it says has begun. So as long as you've begun the war campaign and you have a 120, you have access to this feature across your account, which is pretty cool. The rewards when you're leveling, you get 7th Legion and Honor-Bound Reputation if you still haven't gotten max level with those. They give a 1-hour experience buff after you completed the assault, so it's a little bit evolved system from Legion where it wants you to do these on your alts, and they want you to keep playing after. They want you to go right away, use that XP buff to level further after you've completed the invasion, which is actually really cool. And max level players get bonus reputation, war resources, new gear, and there's apparently achievements tied to all this, which is really, really cool. The visual you see on screen here, and again, this is just a thumbnail taken from Blizzard's post, but for those of you in the Discord, you'll know why this thumbnail is very special to me. If you go to my latest Twitter post, tagging Warcraft devs and Ian, and I think I tagged Jeremy Fiesel in there, we see here a night elf female, riding a lightsaber, wearing plate armor. That is one of the new color tints for the plate armor, wielding a sentinel glaive. Now, in a normal sentence, that would be okay. A night elf warrior wielding a sentinel glaive. What's the big deal? The sentinel glaive that is coming next week is finally in game. It's finally an item in game, and it's not available to any class but demon hunters. So if you're a demon hunter, you can wield this. You know, the one class that has never been seen wielding these things, yeah, you can wield that on a demon hunter. But night elf hunters, warriors, monks, rogues, nope. You're SOL. You can't. Which to me is, I know people who are listening to this are laughing. This just infuriates me. And I don't think this is an intentional, I don't think Blizzard, no. I know Blizzard didn't have a meeting called Warglaives. Everyone sat down and said, you know what? Fuck the Night Elves. We took their tree from them. We did nothing with their storyline, now we're going to take their weapons from them. It makes sense that the new glaive, let's design a warglaive for Night Elves. Of course you're going to choose the Sentinel design. Of course you are, the tri-blade option. That makes complete sense. Where the mistake happens is that warglaives are still locked to demon hunters. And I will reiterate what I've said many times in Discord and on Twitter. Warglaives do not need to be locked to demon hunters. Now before you comment, but Jesse, I believe that demon hunters should have a little bit of an exclusive weapon. Why? Why do they need a weapon that's exclusive? Death Knights didn't get an exclusive runeblade weapon. Their runeblades are literally their axes and their swords that look like runeblades, but they're still axes and swords. I get it. Night Elf and Blood Elf demon hunters, an ancient elven race trained by Illidan Stormrage himself to use the powers of the Legion, to literally eat a demon, and to use the powers of Fel against the Legion. You'd want your weapon to be pretty specialized, right? You wouldn't want to just use an average weapon. So you'd get your warglaives, you'd put your Fel enchants on it, your demon's blood all over it, and it would be very, very specific to your fighting style and who you are as a race and as a class. But now the Legion is gone. So do you think a demon hunter, Blood Elf demon hunter, Night Elf demon hunter, who've spent the last decade fighting demons with this weapon that is literally an extension of their arm? They have these, whether the warglaive is made of fire or fel steel, whatever, are they going to just throw that away in favor of a heavy-looking warglaive with a giant anchor on it found on the docks of Kul Tiras? No. Do you think a Blood Elf who has lived in a gold and red elegant society, spent the last 12 years probably using some sort of Blood Elf-themed warglaive, is going to throw his weapon down and pick up a troll warglaive that has tusks and bone and chipped stone on it? No. That belongs in a museum. No self-respecting Blood Elf would ever use the troll Zandalar-themed warglaives that you can get from the leveling experience. They look dope. Zul'jin, Vol'jin, every Jin would use that. But not a Blood Elf. Let's go to the war. I'm totally derailing this podcast about warglaives. Buckle up. Let's go to the Warfronts in Arathi. Do you think that a Blood Elf who uses thin, elegant pieces of red and gold weapons, blessed or enchanted with the arcane or the Sunwell or whatever font of magic you want to use, would throw that weapon aside in favor of a giant surfboard with the Horde icon on it with spikes on it? No, that belongs at Sarfang's beach house. I wish I had visuals ready so you guys could see the warglaives from the Warfront in Arathi for Horde. They look dope. They look amazing. I'm not disputing that. They do not fit the Blood Elf Demon Hunter kit. It looks like something Sarfang should wield if he decided to abandon his axe. It looks like something a orc rogue who doesn't understand stealth, or a orc warrior who wants two giant surfboards as weapons to use that. The Alliance warglaive for Arathi is so elegant looking, but it's silver or gold or a silver gold. It's small. It almost looks like it has like a protective hilt. It looks like something a footman would use, or maybe some sort of high elven, or I know I said the forbidden word, high elven, some sort of hidden agent of the SI7 or the 7th Legion using this weapon. But no, Night Elves are supposed to be using this weapon. What? So again, this weapon you see on screen, this warglaive wielded by a Night Elf warrior, I'm assuming it's a Night Elf warrior. I see no Death Knight glow on their eyes, so I'm assuming it's a Night Elf warrior because they are wearing plate, and Night Elves can't be paladins yet. Is using a Sentinel's warglaive, but game-wise, only Demon Hunters can use it. So I really hope if anyone from Blizzard Entertainment is listening to this, and you work on the Warcraft team, please I don't even play a Night Elf. I don't have a single Night Elf character. That's a lie. I have a level 60 druid from Vanilla who's a Night Elf on my old server. I don't play Night Elves at all. But on behalf of the Night Elf community who has wanted Warglaives, who has wanted Sentinel armor, please make Warglaives usable by other classes. The Warglaive lore-wise has no association with Demon Hunters only. Warriors, rogues, hunters, and everything else. I don't know about hunters. So many classes could wield the Warglaives of Azzinoth back in the day. Let those same classes be able to wield Warglaives. In fact, I think Enhancement Shaman should be able to wield Warglaives. Just for the hell of it, because that would be cool. Vol'jin wielded a Warglaive, and he was very much partially a shaman. He was, I know he was a shadow hunter, he was a warrior, but he had a lot of shamanistic abilities. He used a Warglaive, and he died, so maybe don't give it to shamans. That's probably a bad example. But Warglaives need to be made obtainable for everyone, because none of the Warglaives in Battle for Azeroth, except for one from the dungeons, fit the Demon Hunter aesthetic. Blizzard, please. Your Warglaives in B4A look amazing, but no self-respecting Night Elf or Blood Elf would ever wield any of them. The Night Elf, I could see wield a Night Elf Demon Hunter fine, wielding the Sentinel's Glaive. Blood Elf Demon Hunter wielding the Forsaken Glaive that's coming next week? Yeah, okay. Okay. Moving on. By the way, I love the armor set for this picture here. The Night Elf Warrior using the gold and purple tints. A lot of people were upset with that particular color scheme. Why gold and purple? But, I mean, the tabard's right there. I don't mind it. I kind of wish that they were made to look a little bit more light in terms of a Night Elf wearing plate shouldn't look like it's too heavy or too clunky, unless either that or they should have went for the Warden look. So I do think that maybe they should have went for a Warden look for the Night Elf plate armor. But I think this fits. I think it's okay. If I had a Night Elf Warrior, I would totally use one of these Warfront sets because it looks amazing. And then there's a troll on screen wielding some daggers and some Horde Warfront gear. Fittingly, they didn't put him in the Warfront gear from Darkshore because it's Forsaken themed and it looks dope as hell. Moving on. Here's what the assaults look like. So here is the Alliance, I guess, attacking Nazmir. And you can see there's the timer is on those quests up in the top right, so you can see that it is going to be a limited time thing until the next one happens. And I believe in the blog post it actually says if you're fighting on the warship up in the air and the invasion ends, the warship leaves and you will fall. It actually says that on the blog. So if you are fighting that boss, you're not safe just because you're on that ship. I don't think it's a phased instance like Legion. The blog heavily implies that it will just kick you off. So yeah, don't leave it to the last second, because that's probably a bad example. Moving on to new pet battle dungeon. I don't do pet battle stuff in game. I really should. There's so many cool pets to collect, and I really should get into pet battling. But for those of you who are a pet battler, rejoice, for there's a new dungeon, Gnomeregan. Another reason to go to that horribly awful laid out city that is still not yet taken by the gnomes. Requires a level 25 pet to start, and you do not have to complete the other two dungeons, pet battle dungeons. It is not a requirement. You can do any of the pet battle dungeons in any order you want. This is coming directly from the blog post, so if that does not make it to live, don't at me. I'm literally reading the post. It is an account-wide weekly quest that rewards pets, and then when you go back and repeat it, it rewards currency that you can buy more pets with it, engineering schematics to make more pets, and boxes that probably have more pets in it. So, not much to talk about here. Visual on screen there is a Blood Elf wearing the new cloth Warfront gear for Forsaken. So there's a Blood Elf who doesn't understand fashion, wearing Warfront gear. With some Azurite pets attacking a robot. Good job. And a voodoo mask. Good job, Blood Elf. Doing your part. saving Nomergon. Speaking of Blood Elves, we are going to be talking about the Heritage Armor, which, as someone who doesn't have a Blood Elf at max level, I'm excited. I don't even play a Blood Elf, and I'm excited. On screen here, you can see a Blood Elf and a Dwarven Lass clashing in the Arathi Warfront, and the weapon choice for the Blood Elf is so perfect. You can't really see it, but he's wielding Philo Malorn, the Blood Elven blade. For Fire Mages from Legion, if you played a Fire Mage in Legion, you'll recognize that name. It is Blood Elf in both style, aesthetic, and lore. So when I see a Blood Elf wielding that sword and a set to match, ooh, perfect choice. When I see an Orc wielding it, I want to take it and break it over his head. But here we have and for those of you who love Blood Elf sets that have the claws, so either tier 19 Hunter set or tier 21 Paladin set, both of them are Elven themed. Now any sort of armor type wearer can get some claws on their fingers, because this is heritage armor, so it works for anything. So if you get the new Blood Elven armor set, you can have the awesome Blood Elf claws on your fingertips. Those are dope. I love that Blizzard put that in. It is one of the coolest, not necessary anyway, I don't think it'd be practical, but seeing the claws on the Hunter set for the Nighthold Emerald Dream tier in Legion, and for the Paladin tier in Antorus, because the Paladin tier in Antorus is Elven themed, Blood Elf, High Elf, both Elf, whatever. I love those little fingers. And, it's a theme that we see on, I think Sylvanas has them, and I believe Illyria has them as well. They seem to be just a trend for elves. Why poke someone in the chest when you could poke someone in the chest and do some damage? Just saying. And then we see here wielding an Uldir sword. Interesting choice. Wouldn't have given that weapon. But, it works. Because Dwarven ladies are too rare. And I don't know, she's not wearing the helm. He's not wearing the helm either. But we see a Dwarven, I'm assuming a warrior, because she's flying through the air, wearing the Dwarven Heritage Armor set. Now let's take a look at the Blood Elf set very quickly. Here's the Blood Elf set. We see the lady on the right. She's wearing the pants here. And the dude is wearing the dress. Now, before you ask, is that a mistake? No, that is not a mistake. When you complete this quest line, you get access to both the tunic, the pants, and the robe version, which is absolutely amazing. Thank you, Blizzard. Thank you, 100% thank you. Give options. Give multiple options. Magar got 3 different sets, 3 different colors of their set. Awesome. Now the Blood Elves are getting the choice between tunic and pants and robe, which is actually so awesome. You can see the claws there that I was talking about, to help with their typing abilities. And then the boots. I'd say the boots are my least favorite part, because I love how stylish and how elegant Blood Elf boots can be. And while the toes are definitely, you don't want to be kicked by those, the rest of them are slippers. They're just socks. I kind of wish there was a little bit of a frill to them. You don't notice it when you're wearing the dress, because you can see it underneath the robes. But when you're wearing the pants, it doesn't really come off as, boots. They're more like socks. I would have liked to see like a sort of ankle frill or a little bit of a design going up the front of the calf. That would have been cool. But that's my only complaint about this set. The chest piece is a 3D chest piece, I believe. It sticks off you a little bit. You've got these big, huge, elegant Phoenix design gauntlets, Phoenix design belt, Phoenix design wing, helm, and Phoenix design shoulders. Look at the helm, shoulders, gloves, and belt, and go look at tier 21 for Paladins from Antorus. You can definitely see the similarities. I've had people I posted on Reddit once about the tier 21 set, and how the Alliance PvP version was gold and blue, and it was very high elven in colors. It was very Warcraft 3, the blue and gold style for elves. You see the old style Silvermoon banners that were gold and blue, which again is also Alliance colors. I get that, it's also Alliance colors, but the fact that they're elven themed and gold and blue means they're high elf themed. People got really upset. This is not an elf theme. It has nothing to do with blood elves. And I'm sitting there going, really? Literally, the belt for tier 21 paladins is actually the blood elf crest. But okay, it's not elven themed. So now, and then the helm just looks dope. The helm is a throwback to the Spellbreaker, that old armor set that the old style artwork from Samwise with the blood elf with the big fancy the double bladed, again, blood elves wielding glaives. There are Spellbreakers outside. Now I have to pull up a visual. Yes. And again, for those of you who are listening to this live, there is visuals on screen to help visualize. This is the old Samwise armor, and as you can see, very, very similar in terms of what we see on screen now. The helm is almost identical. The shoulders very, very similar to the Phoenix design. Instead of the black, red, and gold, they incorporated the green in there, but they're still black underneath. Now all Blizzard needs to do is put in that shield and that glaive option, and we are golden, Ponyboy. So well done to Blizzard. This is an awesome set. I am so excited, and I don't even play a blood elf. What about dwarves? Dwarves have an awesome set. Dwarves are one of those races that don't have a lot of transmog sets that are designed with them in mind, whether it's their stocky legs and the boots, or just the style, the aesthetic of dwarves. Some people say, there is no aesthetic to dwarves. It's just humans, but with beer on it, or less pristine than humans. But there is an aesthetic to dwarves. We see a little bit of that in Ulduar style gear, especially the warrior, but again, it's more high tech. There's not a lot of dwarven armor out there compared to, let's say, blood elves, where you have all the Sunwell gear and you've got the tier 19 hunter and the tier 21 paladin. For dwarves, there's not a lot of gear. So when I see a good dwarf transmog, I always let that person know, like, hey, that is a solid dwarf transmog. But this is perfect. You've got a mixture of animal furs in here. These are dwarves of Dun Morogh. They are the Bronzebeard Mountain clan. So of course they're going to have elements from the creatures around, the hides of rams on them. You've got the big mitts that look like if you punch someone with that mitt, that would hurt. Those knuckles are studded. But then if someone took a sword to swing at you to chop off your hand, that's a well-protected wrist. You've got a big old belt to keep it all together. You've got some awesome boots with some kneecaps. Holy crap, rip anything that gets kneed by this dwarf, because oh my god. You've got some big Muradin and Magni style shoulder pads with your big rams on them, and the gold and the rubies, and then the huge scary helm. If that dwarf headbutted anyone, rip. And again, this is very, very reminiscent of the old Mountain King armor set that was done by Samwise as well. But there was a recent piece of armor that came out, piece of artwork that came out of Muradin wearing the same set. Grabbing a picture here, and people didn't really know where this came from. This was a picture done by I believe Wei Wang. I believe did this. No, I don't think it was Wei Wang. Where is it here? Just gonna use the preview picture here. This artwork right here was done, and this is almost a direct copy of what we are getting for the dwarf armor set. The helm is there, the gloves are there, the shoulders are different, but the belt is pretty much iconic. The coloration is different. I would love for Muradin to get a off color of this exact heritage armor, so it could be reflected in game. I don't see that happening. Obviously, it's not happening for 8.1, but maybe in the future. And I'd love if alternate colors could be available for dwarves. That'd be really cool, but then they'd have to do it for other races, so I don't see it happening, realistically. I'm not going to spoil any of the storyline, or major spoilers at least, but essentially, for the Blood Elves, you're going to take a trip into Sindorai history, and you're going to see some iconic moments featuring Arthas, Anastarion with his ancient horrible model from Wrath, and Kael'thas. And you're gonna, I believe it's narrated by Lor'themar, and Lor'themar's got his new model, so we're gonna see it in action. While the dwarves get to return to Ulduar, and you get to meet some old faces that you haven't seen in a while, and you get to reforge this ancient piece of armor. I won't go into much detail about that, but this whole set is reforging an ancient set of armor. So I'll let people explore that in game. That's going to be available if you have a dwarf that's 120 and you're exalted with Ironforge, or you have a Blood Elf that's 120 and you're exalted with Silvermoon City. You can start this quest in 8.1 on launch day. As far as I know, according to this blog, that is what's going to happen. There's no strict... I don't think there's any strict rules that you had to level this from 0 to 120 with 0 boost, so that if you used your boost on it, you're not viable. I don't think that's a thing. I think Blizzard is keeping that mostly for heritage armor for allied races, but all you need is 120 and exalted with your city faction, and you're good to go from there. Moving on to Warfronts. 2 new islands coming in 8.1. Images here is a really dope animation for paladins, holy paladin. We've got a goblin death knight and a nightborn monk. What a weird combo. But still cool little splash image. In 8.1, we're going to be visiting 2 new islands. The first one is Havenswood, which is a Gilnean settlement that was first announced at BlizzCon 2017. Never made it into the beta, or the files made it into the beta, but it just never made it into game. It was pushed back, according to, I think it was Feasel on Twitter, said that it was a little bit of a complicated map, so it was just knocked back, and that indeed is what happened. It was pushed back to 8.1. Something terrible happened here, according to a Mount reference, and it uses a lot of Gilnean architecture. So, of course, something happened because the Gilneans are there. Those guys never get a break. And here we see an image of what it's going to look like. Again, so happy to return to some of the Gilnean style architecture, because it's just so heavily underused. It is so... We don't see a lot of it. And so, 2 new islands. For island expeditions, we've got Havenswood for one, and the second one is Vrykul themed. And this is called Jorindal, or Yorindal, depending on how they decide to pronounce it. Before you jump in saying, oh, the J in Vrykul language is silent. No, it's not. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Blizzard actually does not have a consistent use of J in the Vrykul tongue, so we will find out if it's Yorindal or Jorindal whenever we hear someone say it. Vrykul settlement. It uses the Legion style Vrykul architecture, which is really cool. And again, something so fresh that we don't get to see very much of outside of Stormheim. So I'm glad that they're reusing that. In a future podcast, we're going to be talking about the lore of island expeditions, and in that podcast, there's a lot of hidden lore going on with these island expeditions. There's a lot of enemies that are attacking that shouldn't be attacking. The Mantid are at large again. The Mogu are doing something, and the Vrykul are doing something. And you get these little item drops that have a little bit of flavor lore to them that sort of set the scene. What's happening in the background? Something is happening across the world on different fronts. And one of the things that we learn about the Vrykul, which is kind of interesting, is there's a Vrykul out there who leads a fleet called the Bloodwake. And his name is Yorin or Jorin of the Bloodwake. And according to the little flavor text, the little quest, he left Stormheim long ago with 1,000 ships in his fleet. He called this fleet the Bloodwake Fleet. I believe there's a plate set that drops from Island Expeditions that is Vrykul themed, called Bloodwake. Warrior, Paladins, and Death Knights, look in your appearance tab, type in blood. It is dope. The chest piece has tattoos built into it. It is really cool. According to the little flavor text, he was one of the greatest raiders to ever live, and he never settles in one place for long. And apparently he's still at large. I think you find his drinking horn or something, because that's what Vrykuls like to do, is drink and litter. So, some theories, what is Jorundal? Jorundal could be his settled home. Maybe he did settle in one place. He kind of set up a home, and then he goes out and raids, and every now and then he comes back for his vacation, relaxes, puts his feet up, watches Twitch, whatever. Maybe the families of those who went out with him on a fleet, because you just don't take soldiers with you on your fleet. You take peasants. You take women and children. You take everyone who's able to do something. But are you gonna keep them all at sea, or did they settle somewhere? Or this could just be an unrelated Vrykul village, and they named it after in his honor. Maybe he took over and he killed the leading Vrykul, and then said, "Hey, name your village after me, and I'll take off." And they did, and here's what happened. I don't think we're going to see Yorin. I don't think we're going to fight Jorin or Yorin of the Bloodwake in 8.1. Maybe he'll be a future raid boss, but yeah, some neat little lore there. There is some island loot happening. Island loot changes. There's a new doubloon vendor, so all those doubloons you've been getting that you don't know what to use on, save those, because as of Tuesday or Wednesday, depending what region you're in, you can buy pets, mounts, hats, rep tokens, and toys. The hats, by the way, are the tricorn pirate hats. They look amazing. And there's some new changes on loot for the islands. I'm going to read a blog post rather than give a TLDR version. I'm just going to read the blog post. A little bit easier. Oh, where is it? Found it. Currently in Battle for Azeroth, Island Expeditions have a chance to reward cosmetic items based on which type of creatures you and your team defeated. For example, if the island theme of the week was Hosen, there's a chance to receive one of the banana toys. If the invaders were Nerubian, you could have a chance to receive the Vorukar Leecher companion pet, among other things. The way this has worked is by means of a hidden scorecard that counted your group's efforts against anything on the island that was part of the invaders' ecology. So if anyone in the group earned some Azerite from killing invaders or mining Azerite near the invaders, everyone in the group had a chance at the cosmetic rewards. That chance grew based on how much invaders' Azerite was obtained, and it was also a higher chance in heroic and even higher in mythic difficulty islands. We set the maximum chance you could earn at a reasonable threshold in the hopes that players wouldn't feel that they needed to only kill invaders and not complete the islands in a natural way. Of course, that's not how it worked out. Confusion around the best way to get cosmetics led to a divergence in playstyles, with some players wishing to focus exclusively on hunting specific creatures, while others wish to win the island efficiently to get Azerite. This caused a significant amount of tension between the players who had differing goals. In Tides of Vengeance, all players on an expedition will have a chance to receive cosmetic rewards based on the island's inhabitants rather than which enemies were specifically defeated. That chance will again be higher on higher difficulties, but there will be no need to strategize around invaders. The most efficient way to receive cosmetic rewards will be whatever tactics cause you to complete the island quickly on the highest difficulty that you're comfortable. Thanks to everyone who has stormed our high seas with feedback on this, we really appreciate that. So no longer do you have to run around hunting only the Mogu because you really want that Mogu pet, or only the black dragons. Your group's dying because the horde attacked one person, you're trying to find the black dragons, and they're just trying to get Azerite to complete quickly. Just do the island, find whatever you do, whatever is the easiest way to do it, and you'll have that chance to earn. If the black dragons are invading that week, whether you saw a black dragon or not, you will have a chance to earn black dragon rewards from that island, which I think is an excellent change. So kudos to you, Blizzard, for doing that, because that is one change that I think will help people a little bit easier. Again, some people feel that the RNG of all the sets and all the weapons is still a little unfair. My answer to that is maybe in a future patch, Blizzard could put all of the transmog that drops on a vendor, but at a very high cost. So that sword that you want maybe costs 1,000 doubloons. So you could just spam run islands to get that sword. Or maybe it's an RNG box. Maybe you can buy, I don't know, a plundered Vrykul's chest. And you get a chest, and inside that chest there is a random RNG chance to get one of the Vrykul sets, whether it's the Bloodwake plate or anything else, or any of the Vrykul weapons that drop from in. Or plundered Naga treasure, and inside are the Naga weapons that drop from it, the Naga toys, plundered Mogu secrets, and in there is a chance to get some of the Mogu weapons that drop, or the toy, or the Mogu mount, which is the recolored, different colored of the Quilin Pandaria dog mount. I think that would be a cool feature. Not that way it prevents you from focusing entirely exactly what you want on it, which makes, I get it. People want to be able to focus. I want to be able to get this chess piece. There are 3 chess pieces I really want from the islands. It's a little bit annoying that I can't focus on getting that with ease. I have to basically rely on RNG. But I think a box system in the future would at least be a little bit more, not fair, but just I think it'd be better. That's my opinion. But I think this is a great step in the right direction. So kudos to you, Blizzard, for that. Let's talk the new raid. When is the new raid coming, guys? By the way, that's splash art, though. Oh, wait, you can't see it. Spoilers. There it is. The new raid, Battle for Dazar'alor, in which Mechatork fights Rastakhan one-on-one as a giant monkey scratches his chest. What an awesome piece of art. That is really cool. I never would have thought that would ever happen, seeing Rastakhan and Mechatork on the same key art. But what a cool piece of art. In his mech and everything. Big question is, when is the Battle for Dazar'alor happening? Well, on the PTR, if you look at the calendar, you can actually see the weekly slots on Tuesday and I assume Wednesday for EU when the week resets. You see what events are starting. So new time walking, new PvP brawl, everything. But on the PTR, you can actually see when certain chapters of the war campaign are happening. And it'll say flat out War Campaign Part 3, War Campaign Part 2. Without going into detail of what the war campaign says, January 29th says, War Campaign Part 5. Join the Horde's leadership as they meet after the battle for Dazar'alor. That's on a Tuesday. So one can assume that January 22nd, 7 days before, which is, in fact, a Tuesday, would be the launch for normal mode and heroic mode for the Battle for Dazar'alor. That's just speculation. I did not see anything mousing over on January 22nd saying that it was the launch of the battle. I may have missed it because there was quite a bit of text there. But January 29th says, join the Horde's leadership as they meet after the Battle for Dazar'alor. So it sounds like when you log in on January 29th or the 30th, there will be a quest for you to go and listen to the dialogue that happens after the raid, which is kind of cool. Which to me implies that it's January 22nd that it's coming out. LFR will likely come out on the 29th. I don't know if they've released the dates for it, so I could just be using speculation. And turns out they've announced it, but as far as I know, they haven't announced it, which is kind of cool. So we'll see. We'll get to see the war campaigns. We'll get to see when they're coming out, so you can know when to expect it. So there's no hidden stuff. It's hidden, but it's not. You know that, okay, I've reached the end of this chapter. I can successfully wait till next week. I know it's coming next week, which is great because I'm glad that we can physically see on the calendar. I don't think we need to have the entire war campaign out all at once. I think breaking it down and having it split up, because the problem that I have with time in Azeroth and in game is how long it takes to move forces and troops. According to Blizzard official lore, and this still bothers me, the Northrend campaign in Wrath of Lich King happened in 1 year. 1 year. To land your forces in Borean Tundra and the Howling Fjord. To build the massive citadel that the Horde build in Borean Tundra, or the Alliance keep that the Alliance build there. 1 year to take out Naxxramas, to settle into Winter's Grasp, to siege the gates of Ulduar, to set up the Argent Tournament, and then siege Icecrown. All in a single year. Not to mention the logistics of moving troops between battles. Oh, by the way, we forgot the Wrathgate also happened in that same year. And the battle for Undercity. What? A year? No. And because Blizzard wants, year 25 is vanilla, year 26 is BC, year 27 is Wrath, Cataclysm happens in year 28. What a crazy amount of that's a lot to happen in 2 years. The siege of Northrend, the assault on Northrend should have taken months to get up there. Months to establish your connections with the locals, set up your base. Maybe a year to infiltrate Naxxramas and take it down. Then another half year to move your forces, to have the battle for Ulduar happen. That alone is a massive siege. Then have the Argent Tournament, and then plan the huge assault on Icecrown Citadel. It's infuriating. And whoever made that decision, shame on you. Because that is bad. That is bad timing. That makes no sense. 1 year? 1 year? Holy crap. So, this comes back down to time gating. Having the entire battle for Darkshore, do everything all in one, the entire story chapter, all of Battle for Dazar'alor, do the Battle for Dazar'alor, kill everyone, and then have the aftermath in 4 hours on patch day, sucks. That makes no sense. Time-wise, I don't care if it's a matter of, I pay for the content now, I want to do it now. No, it is spread out for a good reason. It is spread out so that you don't suck it all up in one go. That you do have time to explore and feel that you don't feel like you're rushed. That's the worst feeling, is when there's so much to do and you feel, oh my god, I have to do all of this before next week. Or there's the independent chapters. And I know lots of people are going to disagree. Lots of people are going to chime in, comment, Jesse, I think time gating is awful. I think time gating is necessary to a certain degree. To a certain degree. Time gaining with reputation, a little bit frustrating. Because then you feel that if you don't spend every waking moment doing something, then you fall behind. If you don't spend every single day doing absolutely the max you're required to, that you are missing out. I think time getting to reputation is slightly problematic. I don't think it should be taken out completely, but for those doing the Nightborn storyline before, back at the beginning of Legion, you had to stay on top of your world quest every single day if you wanted to get access to the Archway. And there were many people at the beginning of the expansion who couldn't queue for the Archway because they did not stick to that, and it felt like you were being punished. I can't do one of these mythics because I forgot to do my emissary on the day that I worked a 19-hour shift and got home and slept and didn't bother to actually check the game. So I think that there's a middle ground that Blizzard can still work with. Time gaining to reputation, I think, it's not perfect and it should be changed, but I don't like it fully. But time gaining, put out chapter 1 this week, chapter 2 next week, chapter 3 the week after, to me that's totally fine. That makes complete sense, especially if it's a war campaign. Having the battle through Darkshore happen over the course of 2 weeks was satisfying. Not, alright, cool, that was an hour, and we marched through Teldris, marched through the Barrens, marched through Darkshore, slaughtered all of Ashenvale, by the way, and burned an entire world tree in 51 minutes. That is brilliant. Love that. That makes no sense. So I'm a-okay with that. And of course, the big question, when is 8.1.5? Or, better yet, when is 8.2? Before the new year? And by I mean before the new year, I mean on the PTR before the new year. Definitely possible. Blizzard has multiple times over the course of the holiday season dropped patches. For those of you who don't know, what Blizzard does is a large amount of Blizzard employees take the first half of December off, and the second half take the second half off. Christmas holidays, right? Time to spend with their families. The entire company doesn't go dark, but there is the holiday seasons. People have Christmas holiday time at Blizzard. And so in the past, and I remember explicitly, it was for the Throne of Thunder patch 5.2, right before the Christmas holiday, right before Blizzard kind of went half dark for the holiday season. They said screw it, and they threw the Throne of Thunder PTR up live. Massive PTR build, massive amounts of data mining. Have at it, Wowhead MMO champion, and then they came back a week later for in January. And I really hope Blizzard does that. I don't think that they'll do that because 8.1.5 isn't gonna be huge in terms of crazy amounts of content like 8.2. But I think we could see 8.1.5 on the PTR maybe before the new year. I'm just speculating it's possible. Do I think it's going to happen? Just considering that 8.1 is coming out in beginning of December, I say we're more likely to get it the first or the second week of January. But I'd love to see it on the PTR before the Christmas holidays. But I'm not sure if it'll happen. 8.2, I think is going to happen. When's 8.2 going to happen? I think we're going to see 8.2 in the PTR by probably end of February. 8.1 Dazar'alor will come out mid-January, January 22nd. So end of February, maybe even mid-February, we'll have the 8.2 PTR. And maybe a March or April release for 8.2. Which means that we're in for a summer release of 8.3. BlizzCon 2019, November. The announcement of the next expansion probably won't happen at Gamescom. Everyone speculates, do you think it's going to happen at Gamescom? I don't think it's going to happen at Gamescom because the only reason it happened at Gamescom in 2015... 15? Was because we were suffering in that Warlords drought. We had no information about anything. Blizzard was like, oh my god, panic button. Here's Legion, here's Illidan, freak out. But we're not telling you anything until BlizzCon. So we found out in August the name. We found out Illidan was there. We found out we can get the Ashbringer. And then we had 2 months of nothing. And then they told us everything at BlizzCon, which made sense. So BlizzCon 2019, I'm telling you, is going to be the announcement for the next World of Warcraft expansion, which will come out probably in the summer or fall of 2020. That makes it a 2-year release after BlizzCon, after Battle for Azeroth. So that adds up perfectly. WoW expansions are every 2 years. 2017, we got the announcement for Battle for Azeroth. This year we got the announcement of what's coming in Battle for Azeroth's patches. Next BlizzCon is definitely the next expansion announcement. It's also, ready for this? 15 years of World of Warcraft. And 25 years of Warcraft as a franchise. That is huge. So, I think we're going to see 8.2 on the PTR sometime in February with a March, maybe April release. Maybe. 8.1.5, I can't see taking that long. What do we got? We got Kultiris and Zandalari allied races. We got some holidays. We got some interesting stuff coming, but I don't see it taking too long to develop. That's the point of these little 0.5 patches. So I can definitely see the PTR having 8.2, get some nice juicy Ajara and Naga models coming up in February. Launch 8.2 for April. Announced BlizzCon in April. Hype. Mark the calendars. And then summer release for 8.3, which would line up for the Argus release of August 2016? 17. So yeah, that's my thoughts on 8.1. Not really my thoughts, just a rundown of everything that's happening. Lots of great transmog. Night Elves, rejoice. I know a lot of Night Elves aren't happy with the transmog in 8.1. Do I think it could be better? Yes. Do I think the sets fit the Night Elf theme? Yes. I think the color schemes fit the theme well. The blue and gold doesn't. I don't know why Blizzard decided to do a blue and gold Night Elf set. That doesn't make any sense. No one wants that. Not even the Alliance, who like blue and gold, want that. It should have been Night Elf only color. There should have been a green set for the Wardens, like a green color set for the Wardens, that silvery reddish purple burgundy pairing, and then the gold and the vibrant purple. That would have been 3 awesome color schemes. The Forsaken are getting some of the coolest transmog ever, and the reason I'm excited for Warfronts through a Battle for Azeroth is because the theme of the Warfront dictates the theme of the armor. So we had Arathi with the traditional Alliance and Horde. And you might say Arathi Highlands has the Defilers, which is the Forsaken. Why is it the Horde? But Arathi is important to the Orcs because that's where Thrall was raised. Rather, he was raised in Nerdhold. But there was a lot of internment camps in Arathi as well. You know, that part of Lordaeron was... or I guess it wouldn't be Lordaeron, it'd be part of Strom, but that part of the world was important to the Horde, or involved in Horde history way back when. It does make sense that it's the Defilers who are there, the Forsaken, but the Horde Warfront for Arathi is very Orcish and themed. The Alliance is very human and themed, or very Alliance in general. The Alliance sets are Alliance themed, while the Horde sets are Orc themed. Let's be real. Doesn't mean it's a problem, that's just fact. Night Elf sets, Darkshore. Forsaken, I would never have put the Forsaken attacking Darkshore. Had you said to me months ago, Jesse, if there's a Darkshore Warfront, what would it be? I wouldn't have known. I would have thought Trolls, maybe? But the Forsaken, I guess, attacking, it does make sense, because the rest of the Horde had a problem with Darkshore, so it makes sense that she being Sylvanas, sent a lot of her forces there, because they don't have a home anymore, so they're looking for a battlefield. So she's like, no, there's a bunch of Orcs in Arathi, fine, you go to Darkshore. So it makes sense. I wouldn't have guessed it at first. So that if we get a Silver Moon Warfront, that means more Blood Elf armor, rejoice Blood Elves. And what could the Alliance one be? Draenei? We got a lot of Draenei armor. As a Draenei fan, I admit that. But I'm okay with that. We need Draenei leather and Draenei mail. That doesn't exist in game. Very much. Maybe if the Alliance attacks Mulgore, there'll be some Tauren sets, right? So we're getting a lot of racial sets. Tauren and Gnomes are getting their heritage armor next, but I'd love to see Warfront armor for Tauren. Tauren plate set would look dope. Tauren cloth set would look dope. Tauren leather, we got a lot of Tauren leather because of druids. Tauren mail would be even cooler. So I'm definitely excited for Warfronts in general. I love the weapons coming in Warfronts. The Night Elf weapons are perfect. If you're a Night Elf or a Forsaken, holy crap, this is your patch. The Forsaken armor is so cool. It's very gothic, has very subtle Gilnean touches to it. And by Gilnean, I don't mean Gilneas itself, but I mean that sort of rustic, realistic human set. The plate, not so much, but especially the chainmail has that chainmail jacket and the leather, just how thick the chest piece looks, and having this gothic sort of spiky plate and the gothic cloth. I just love the gothic theme. How the leather and the mail look almost like human gear with Forsaken skulls on it, while the plate and the cloth just look completely something new, something like completely full Forsaken gothic. I love it. Love the weapons. Skulls everywhere, but not like a Horde and an Orc style skull. It's just spoopy skulls because Forsaken, right? The apothecary, the cloth set is very apothecary themed with the vials. And then the battle for Dazar'alor. the biggest question was, how can they have a troll patch, a raid on the troll city when all of the gear for Horde leveling is literally troll themed? And Blizzard did it. It won Somdi themed gear, some other troll weapons that didn't make it into the game. Really cool. Some Jaina weapons, some gnome weapons. Jaina's dad's sword is a weapon drop from the raid. His sword, not his boat, his sword. Lots of cool mounts, lots of cool pets, lots of cool everything. 8.1 looks juicy. 8.1 looks exciting. I'm excited. I'm curious to see what the community's feedback is going to be. I really hope it's not a blind circle jerk and that this is not right because nothing can be right, Blizzard. I really, really hope that Blizzard continues their communication, continues these Q&As, continues talking on Twitter, continues these blog posts. I said on Brutal Stream the other day, I do think that there was a little bit of a disconnect between Blizzard and the fanbase at the launch of Battle for Azeroth. Think back to the launch of Legion. Legion is viewed as an incredibly successful expansion. Whether you liked it or not, you cannot deny that it was very successful and the reaction to it is very positive. Think back to the beginning of Legion and think back to how rough the beginning of Legion was. Remember the Legendary fiasco? Remember how there was a lot of problems back then. The Legendary system was awful back in the day. But we don't remember that because 7.1 came out. Good. 7.1.5. All right, some new stuff. 7.2. Cool. Tomb of Sargeras. 7.3. Oh my God, Argus. Everyone has a good everyone remembers Legion well, and the rough little bumpy start. Most people forget. But Blizzard was also communicating a lot back then. There was a lot more open communication, just on Twitter and the forums in general. And I found, and I'm not accusing Blizzard, I'm not pointing fingers, but I've found that since the launch of Battle for Azeroth, there has been a little bit of I don't want to say silence from Blizzard, but they haven't been as open as they have in the past. And that, I think, is part of the issue. The community complaints about Azerite. Blizzard, please. No response. More people. Blizzard, please. No response. Mythics come out. Problems with Mythics. Blizzard, please. Little response. More problems found the next week. Exploits. Bans happen. Blizzard, please. Finally, a Q&A. The response time was short. It was very slow. Sorry, the response time was long. It was slow. And I think that was part of the problem. And I think Blizzard has done a lot of changes. The Azerite changes they've made so far, I'm not even going to talk about Azerite. But the Azerite changes they made so far, great. The Island Expedition changes they made so far, great. The amount of content coming so fast in 8.1, great. But now everyone is angry about everything. And as Red Shirt Guy said the other day on Twitter, everyone's angry about something in Battle for Azeroth, but we can't seem to pinpoint what we're angry about. Are we mad at Blizzard because they didn't give us content? Are we mad at Blizzard because of the Azerite? No, we're not mad about that. Are we mad about that there's no flying? Well, we're always mad about that. Are we mad that the storyline doesn't make sense and Sylvanas is doing something she would never do? No. Well, some of us are mad about that, but some of us aren't. That was sarcasm, by the way. Are we mad? Are we mad? Are we mad? Are we mad? The questions just keep going on, and it's like, we're allowed to be angry. We're allowed to be upset. We're allowed to voice our opinion and our feedback. Hey, I don't like this. The 8.1 storyline on the PTR had so many mistakes. And Red Shirt Guy made a blog post that was constructive, positive, and to the point. Here are the problems with 8.1. Bam. Here's why they're problems. Bam, number 2. And here's some changes to fix it. Problem, why it's a problem, solution. Bam, bam, bam. And it was polite. The next patch, 2 builds later in the PTR, they were all fixed. They were all changed. Maybe not every single one, but most of them were changed because that was feedback they wanted. Screaming on the forums or on your Twitch stream to thousands of viewers in a negative tone, fueling that negativity does nothing. People want to burn something with a pitchfork. So they're looking for something. Until one guy says, hey, over there, that's the thing we gotta burn. Quick, get it. Next week. Get that. Next week. Get that. It's just an endless cycle. And again, Blizzard is not faultless. There have been mistakes with Battle for Azeroth. There has been some testing time. I think Battle for Azeroth should have had a little bit more development time. There's definitely some problems. But if you're going to give feedback, you have a problem, just tell Blizzard what your problem is, why it's a problem. Speak for yourself. Don't speak on behalf of the community. Speak for yourself, why it's a problem, and if you can, offer a constructive piece of solution. Here's what I think would fix it. Because maybe it's a simple answer that's not so simple that they haven't thought of. We're not getting into this. We're gonna bring this to a close. Guys, this is episode 30 of Decoded. I'm so sorry for my absence. I was sick. But I'm back now, and I'm gonna try to do episode 31 very soon. Maybe this week. I'm not gonna promise, because that locks me in. But I'm gonna try. I've got a couple ideas. A lot of cool ideas. We have a Warcraft RPG podcast coming up in the new year, talking about, with someone from my Discord, Shadow Chorus has gone to town on this project. I'd love to spend an entire project just talking about my Warcraft RPG campaign and showing the visuals behind it. That was really fun, really cool. But I'd also love to talk in a separate podcast with Shadow Chorus about everything he's done. We gotta talk about death. I got a new mod here over in the Discord. If I don't talk about death soon, I'm gonna be in trouble. So death needs to be talked about. Thros, Bonsamdi, Sylvanas, everything. So I'm gonna talk about Helya. I'm gonna talk about death. We gotta talk about... People want the RP podcast back. They want to talk about, part 3. Where's part 4? Where's Issei? Where's Shannon? Where's Zuanich? Where's all the people that have never come back on the podcast? I mean, it's only been a couple months. People will come back. Where's Zillions? Why is Zillions not on the podcast? What about some new faces? So we're bringing them back. I love to talk about, coming up for 8.2, the Highborn, Ajara. There's so much to talk about. So I'm going to try and get another episode of Decoded out as soon as possible. Just for you guys, since I missed a couple weeks because of sickness. I'm back. I'll even be doing a podcast during the Christmas season. Maybe I'll do a Christmas-themed podcast. Maybe not. I don't know. For those of you who want to tune in and hear me scream about things on a daily basis, don't know why you would, but if you want, come hang out on Twitch. Twitch.tv/The Lost Codex is not the place to go, because that guy still has that account. So don't go to Twitch.tv/The Lost Codex. That's the wrong account. Go to Twitch.tv/Lost Codex Lore. I had to think about that for a second. And you could listen to me rant about things. I'm going to be streaming every day in December, or trying to stream every day in December. We're going to do transmog runs. I'm going to sit here on cam and talk for 4 or 5 hours about nothing. So come hang out with this face. Come hang out in game if you're in North America servers, and maybe we'll see some special conversations about special projects coming up. Who knows? That's Twitch.tv/Lost Codex Lore. If you have Discord, why aren't you in the community? Why aren't you part of the Lost Codex Discord? That is the biggest question. That is the number one problem I have with you listening to this right now who's not in the Discord. Yeah, I'm calling you out by name, person. Where's Ben? Where is Ben? Ben, are you listening? I met a guy named Ben at TwitchCon, big fan of the Lost Codex. I said, Ben, do you have Discord? He said, I love Discord. I'm in so many communities. I said, join mine. And Ben hasn't joined. Ben, where are you, dude? Where are you, my dude? So if you want to be part of a very welcoming, warm, tight-knit community, join the Lost Codex Discord. If you loved that feeling back in the day of BC Wrath, of that family guild talking on vents, just hanging out with people in chat, and you want that feeling again, that's what the Lost Codex Discord has become. And I'm not just saying that because it's my Discord, just whatever. They're really cool. No, if honestly, one of the best things that's come out of the Lost Codex is this Discord. So many cool people. They're all screaming in chat right now. You can't see the chat. I can. Again, this is all recorded live on Twitch. So if you want to see visuals, come listen on Twitch. Join the Discord. And again, you can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Instagram, where we don't post. You can find us on Facebook, where I gotta get better at posting. And if you do want to support us in any kind of way, you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/thelostcodex, where we have rewards. $1 tier reward, $5 tier reward. It goes on. There's rewards. There's new merchandise coming out. People get to see a video a day early on Patreon, a new Lost Codex video. They get to see that early. You get to see updates. You know, if you're a patron, you know what's coming. You get to see Jeff's slides. You get to see new things. So if you want to support us in any way, patreon.com/thelostcodex, or on Twitch, throw a sub if you want, if you can. I will never make exclusive, paid-for content from the Lost Codex. There will not be a special lore video on Gallywix's bank account because people have paid and no one else gets to see it. They might get to see it early. They might get to see early stages. They might get to see behind the scenes, but there will never be a video locked behind Patreon that you won't be able to access after. That isn't a regular content video. And again, the merch. We've got merch coming soon. We've got pins. I'm wearing Lost Codex shirt right now. Dazar'alor shirt. Dazar'alor on this side. Kalteris on this side. We got the holocore in the middle. We've got the Codex, and then you can't really see it on the back, but I've got a Kalteris design on the back. You can also order one with the Dazar'alor design on the back, which is really awesome. We've got purple shirts as well. We have pins. Yeah, this is a pin on a piece of paper. This is the whole thing's not the pin. This is the pin in the middle. Little Codex pin. It's also a little business card. We got merch. How cool is that? So come, join the Discord, talk to us. Everyone's nice, everyone's friendly. Keep an eye out on Twitter for more updates on new stuff and new things. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much for joining for episode 30 of Decoded, and I will see you later this week for episode 31. Topic to be decided. Okay, goodbye.